We gotta be a bit. Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prestaya Bhutale, Shri Mate Bhakti Vedanta, Swami Nitya Namine. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamane Namaste Saraswate Devi Oryavani Pracharine Devasesha Shunyavadidi Atyachare Shatarine Namaste Saraswati Devi Oryavani Pracharine Devasesha Sanyavadi Jaya Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gauravata Vrinda Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gauravata Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna Krishna
Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare bolo bolo.
Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare Ram,
Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki. Brihat Madanga ki. Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki. Shri Giriraj Maharaj ki. Shri Mayapur Dham ki. Srila Prabhupada's Transcendental Book Marathon ki. Yuga Dharma Harinama Sankirtan ki. Transcendental Prashadam Distribution ki jai. All glorious to the assembled devotees. All glorious to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glorious to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Hare Bo. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Charine Nirvasesha Sanyavadi Pastyachade Shatayane. Hare Krishna Vanchakalpaturubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evyacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Dear devotees from different countries around the world, we welcome you this morning. Thank you for joining us for just a little session of hearing and chanting. Many devotees around the world now are getting ready for the annual event, the Transcendental Srila Prabhupada Book Marathon. I hope wherever you are, you can take part in this to some degree at least. Maybe not being able to go out on the street. Many of the devotees today are perhaps in lockdown situation or health situations, etc. But we can always help. Maybe we can encourage somebody to take a book online, on the phone, or others to encourage others to distribute books. Or maybe we can contribute towards the distribution of books, Prabhupada's books, at this time of the year. Traditionally, whoever can, whoever is willing, more or less makes all effort to distribute Srila Prabhupada's books. We have to keep our spiritual lives intact, our sadhana, our health, our services. But the emphasis, as we may know, that when Srila Prabhupada came to the Western world on board the Jaladuta, his main association or his main assistance was the fact that he had brought with him 200 sets of Srimad Bhagavatam in English, just the first canto, 3 volumes. With this, he felt confident that he could establish Krishna consciousness more in the Western world. And Srila Prabhupada in 1966, after almost a year in the Western world, he finally established an association, ISKCON, in New York. And in the, originally it's called Constitution, or the incorporation of ISKCON. Prabhupada wrote Constitution, but legally it's incorporation. So in the incorporation, there are many principles or goals of ISKCON. And the seventh one of those mentioned is to print, to write, publish, distribute literatures, transcendental literatures relating, of course, in Krishna consciously, to fulfill the above mentioned purposes. This was so the book distribution, although it's one of the purposes, is the means to fulfill the other purposes. We all know how important Srila Prabhupada's books are. Not just for distribution, of course. Prabhupada said, I've written these books for you to read. They are our intelligence, our intelligence in this world. And if we're still relating to this world as our home, etc., or still identifying with our conditioned mind and intelligence, naturally we are to different degrees. Therefore, our intelligence becomes clouded over very easily. Even Arjuna's intelligence became perplexed in the face of the battle of Kurukshetra. So what to speak of us, conditioned souls, how easily our intelligence becomes controlled by the mind or bewildered. Unfortunately, so the Shastras are Guru Shastra Sadhu. But as we're talking about Shastras, scriptures, they are our intelligence to guide us on our path. So regularly hearing from scriptures is very essential for human society. Otherwise, it degrades to a more or less animalistic society which we're living in. It's a very dangerous place in many ways. Maybe I'll just read you something. Let me see now. I'm just trying to think where it is. But unfortunately, people don't use their intelligence in this world for the right purpose. I just have to get that off the screen. Press that there. So I'll just read. This is actually a little letter from Prabhupada in 1973 when Prabhupada was staying in the Bhaktivedanta Manor. So he wrote this letter. I can understand your concern about the deterioration of the civilization. Yes, the city will be a more dangerous place as Kali Yuga advances. It will be very deteriorating. The modern civilization is so corrupt, and as sinful activities are more and more committed, the people will be forced to face more troubles by nature's order. Our business, however, is simply to take shelter of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and pray to the holy name to give us protection. We shall be unaffected by all that will happen. Krishna will provide us with working facilities. Be assured of this, that the devotees will be protected by the holy name. Others will have to suffer in the days that are coming. So I think we can all understand that this situation which the world is presently undergoing is certainly not something very comfortable, at least for most people. It's just another symptom of the deterioration in Kali Yuga. And another, you could say, reminder of the urgency of Krishna consciousness. It's not just something which we do for ourselves. That's okay in one sense, but it's not the objective of Lord Chaitanya's movement to drown the world in Sankirtan, in chanting the glories of the Lord, because this is the only relief Nothing else. I mean, other things have to be there in the course of our daily lives, no doubt. Ultimately, there's no solution because people are committing sinful activities, knowingly or unknowingly, and society in general is encouraging, facilitating sinful activities and consequently bringing suffering upon itself. Their education system does not include the most important subject matter, basically aimed at trying to increase the facility for more sinful activity in the world and constantly increasing the suffering of human society. And Kali Yuga is only 5,000 plus years in. We can hardly imagine what it could be like in thousands of years to come. So this time, during the what's generally known as the golden period, these few thousand years after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance, it may be, and it may not be, that the influences of Kali will increase in terms of what we see around us. But what does increase is the opportunity to attain perfection in this situation. Just like now, many are in some kind of lockdown, I suppose, or some restrictive situation, as Prabhupada mentioned there. We take shelter of the holy name. Devotees in Russia during the communist period, those who were there and then continued their devotional service in the non-communist period, reflected back to basically to the conclusion that they felt more Krishna conscious during the communist era than they did afterwards, even though they were much freer in terms of movements, in terms of activity, and so on. But the pressure, whatever it was, the challenge, Krishna very much appreciates a devotee when they undergo challenge, taking a risk, intelligent risk, for the service of Krishna. Krishna is very, very pleased. And he shows his, let's say, gratefulness, or whatever you wish to call it, by enlightening that devotee, reminding that devotee of him. Easy to remember Krishna. Sometimes it may go the other way, but oftentimes when we're in a difficult situation, it's a reminder to bring us back to what we're really here for, to remember Krishna. This is our purpose of Lord Chaitanya's movement and the Goswami's nectar of devotion everywhere. We see these reminders, strong reminders of I can read one verse, for instance, a little mention of Prabhupada. And is related to book distribution, actually. And sometimes we may say things in distributing books which are not always absolutely similar, absolutely, relatively speaking, are not exactly what people, let's say, would call direct. It's not cheating, just like Prabhupada says, just like a mother sometimes, she entices a child to take medicine by saying, oh, the medicine is very sweet, or I'll give you a laddu if you take this medicine or chocolate or something. Knowing the mother won't, the mother knows she's not actually going to give the chocolate because otherwise the child will get more sick. But to entice the child to take the medicine, sometimes that's required. So sometimes different legal means, whatever you want to call it, may be engaged in order to try to encourage people to take the medicine of Krishna consciousness. So that is tactics, Prabhupada said. But that is not cheating. If the mother helps a child in drinking medicine, that's not cheating. Somewhere or another, that is the instruction of Rupa Goswami. Vena tena pakarena mana Krishna niveshayat. Somehow or another, let everyone be Krishna conscious. This is the real mercy, and people say different things because they don't know. Even devotees sometimes haven't quite cottoned on. But the connecting of people to Krishna, somehow or other, reminding people of Krishna is the only really, in one sense, the only valuable thing in their lives, in one sense. Because everything else is a cause of karma, is a cause of repeated births and deaths. Because if someone or other they remember Krishna or come in contact with Krishna, their path to freedom is opened up. Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings what you sing, Krishna nam shudakoryopan, Jurayo bhakati vinoda pran, namavina kichu nahi por, chora bhuvanama. In all the 14 worlds, there's nothing but the holy name. The holy name has completely satisfied the soul, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. This is the only security in this world. Everything else will go, come and go. Duality. And in the middle of all of this turmoil and annoyance, as Bhakti-Siddhanta Maharaj said, in the middle of all of this is the chanting of the holy names, at least the opportunity to take shelter. So when we're in difficulty, we're always in difficulty. When we realize we're in difficulty, it certainly should, for those who are aspiring to be Krishna conscious, an incentive or whatever you wish to say, to take more shelter of the holy name of Krishna. And taking shelter of the holy name of Krishna is not just a mechanical process. Many of you have had children, and you know how much the child depends upon its mother for just about everything, when it's a small baby especially. And it basically takes shelter of the mother. It has no other, maybe others give some shelter, but the main shelter is the mother, feeding the child, looking after the child's every need. But because the child is taking shelter of the mother in the womb, and then of course outside of the womb, there's an intense relationship, deep relationship. It's like we're in the material world, we've taken shelter of the womb of Maya, so there's a deep relationship with Maya. We may not see it as Maya, but it's the various pictures that Maya arranges for us to relate with or to try to enjoy. And we become very attached to those pictures of Maya. Become very entangled and very disturbed, like a child. When a child has some object or something which it's very attached to, it becomes very disturbed if it's lost, broken, stolen, taken away, whatever it is. The child becomes very disturbed because he's very attached to this particular toy or object. So similarly, living entities in this world, we're all very, very attached to our sense gratification, the objects of our sense gratification. And like a child doesn't really know that attachment is actually the cause of our repeated suffering. Krishna consciousness is the only, genuinely speaking, and the spreading of the holy name is the only genuine relief. Is the only actual relief for those suffering in this world. Krishna consciousness. But the only thing lacking is Krishna consciousness in this world. This movement is meant to fill that gap, big gap. Most people have got you could say the shutters closed. They're not allowing that flow in. Even we sometimes shut our consciousness or turn it in a different direction and don't allow the flow of Krishna's mercy into our hearts. Opening up our hearts and let the holy name, you can say, vibrate in our hearts and cleansing all the dirty things in our consciousness. As the sun cleans everything, pretty much it's nature of the sun purifying by its rays, purifies dirty places, etc. Melts ice. So similarly, if we allow the rays of the Sankirtan movement into our consciousness, then our consciousness can become purified. The more we open, less there is interference. Of course, we do have a tendency to absorb ourselves in so many objects of the senses even when we chant Hare Krishna. We're thinking of so many things. Don't ask you what you're thinking of. It might be in the news, it might be Corona, it might be something mundane activity, it might be a family member, it might be your health, it might be so many things. Fears of various kinds enter our minds. And more, we could say, create interference on the screen of our consciousness. When you're trying to watch a television program now, it's probably not the same as used to be, but those who remember when televisions first came on the market, you would spend a good percentage of your time trying to tune the television. We call it interference. There's so much interference on the screen. Flashing and popping, and just very hard to get it tuned in. Our consciousness is like that. So much interference on our consciousness, and a clear picture of Krishna consciousness is very hard to get. Maybe some hazy or coming and going on all televisions. You get it for a minute and it go off again. Come back again, go off again. You have to keep trying to tune it. Where Krishna consciousness is a little like that. We have to fine-tune our Krishna consciousness by by trying to carefully chant the holy names and regularly chant the holy names. And try to chant carefully, or Krishna Katha in the form of Bhagavad Gita or whatever it may be, on Krishna consciousness. Because this is a very simple process, but it's not so easy to apply. And then probably most of us can vouch for the fact that it's hard to be attentive. So we have to pray to the Lord. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said it's impossible for the jiva to single-handedly overcome the offense of inattention, or the illusion of inattention. It is only possible with the mercy of the Lord. Therefore, we should fervently pray for his mercy. Well, that prayerful mood when we chant, it's not that we've got what we're aiming at. We're on the path, so our mood should be praying to the Lord. Materially, people pray for material things. Approaching God, please give me this. Please help me with this. Piety is there. For devotee, we also have, every prayer has an objective goal. So devotee has an objective goal whilst praying. Prabhupada said our only prayer should be this. May, dear Lord Krishna, you are in my heart as a super soul. Please always remind me to chant your holy names. Please do not put me in forgetfulness. So depending on what stage of maturity we're on, the prayer, chanting of the holy name may take on a different mood. But basically speaking, it's an appeal to be engaged in one's eternal constitutional position of servant of the Lord, servant, servant, servant. This is our prayer, because that's our constitutional position, or our correct position. So who can, no one on earth can help to, say, awaken that, or establish that. Only the Lord can do it. So we appeal to the Lord. We approach the Lord in this prayerful mood, appealing for his mercy. Kindly, please hear my prayer, hear my chanting. We sometimes say, chant and be happy. And that infers it is me, is more or less chanting for me. But when our prayer becomes a little different, it's still chanting for me. But it's chanting for Krishna. We're appealing to him. Please hear my prayer. You know how fallen I am, how covered I am, how distracted I am, etc. And we're praying to the Lord to please take us. That's the Hare Krishna mantra. It's not just a mantra that we chant to feel good. It's an appeal to the Lord to please deliver me from this illusion and situate me in a correct position where I can actually be pleasing to you. This is when we chant the holy names, that's kind of what it means. But we may not be conscious of that. We should be, no doubt, say that we should be focusing on the holy name when we chant, which we should. But as Prabhupada himself says, in all situations, it is the attitude of the devotee that makes the difference. So to cultivate the humble, the submissive attitude towards chanting the holy names of Krishna, that's another thing. Mostly our chanting is kind of, we can't say mindless because it's mind, but in terms of chanting, it's just pretty much mindless. We're not conscious of what we're doing, maybe sometimes, but not much. And many times we're not even chanting the Maha Mantra properly. We're chanting maybe half the mantra or something, or whatever, but usually not very clear, not very, even the pronunciation we may not be able to do, but at least the endeavor should be there to chant each name clearly, Prabhupada said. The upper lip and the upper tongue, the upper lip and lower lip and the tongue should all be active. And we should try to be, as best as we can, pronounce the holy name of the Lord. And as best as we can, we try to be attentive to Krishna when he appears in this form name. Try to be as attentive as we can. The Maha Mantra is the most important thing in the universe. Is Krishna himself. And Krishna himself is maybe not, we don't see it as him dancing on our tongue, but for an elevated soul, they can see Krishna dancing on their tongues. But in one sense it is, he's come here into our presence to deliver us, to shower his mercy on us. And it behooves us to try to associate with him. Association is so important, and the pure devotees of the Lord have given us this opportunity to associate with Krishna. It's such a rare opportunity, very rare. But right now, during this period of time, as we mentioned, Krishna is giving that opportunity more and more and more. And even if it gets more degraded, it will be, again, it will be push people that have no other shelter. The material world is not our shelter. We're taking shelter of fallible soldiers. The tide will come in. So that we'll be carried away in the wheel of time. Can't hold on to anything in this world. So we have to hold on to something that is not of this world. The Maha Mantra Golokera Prema Dana Harinama Sankirtana has come from the spiritual world. Hold on to that. It's like if you're drowning in a well, yeah, if there's a rope coming down, we have to hold on to it. There's no other way of getting out. We can't climb up the walls of a well normally, so maybe some people who know how to do it, but generally we cannot. We're drowning in the well. You have to take hold of the rope. Save me. There's a rope of mercy coming down from Caitanya Mahaprabhu through our parampara. You have to take shelter of that rope, take shelter of the disciplic succession of the words of the Guru, the Srila Prabhupada's books, the directions, the guidance he's giving us. You have to take shelter of that. Otherwise we'll get swept away by Maya, especially in Kali Yuga. We're drowned in this ocean of Maya. Ultimately we want to be, not say drown, we could say drown, not really, but we want to completely be absorbed in the ocean of bhakti. So the Bhakti Rasa Amrita Sindhu, that nectarian ocean of devotional service, which is eternal. We want to end. The movement's forward to immerse us in this ocean. And Sankirtan, the word is a very general word. It literally means complete glorification of the Lord with everything that we can. It's not in of itself a specific activity. but it's often used in terms of a specific activity, which means kirtan, glorification, chanting the holy names of Krishna in with others, publicly or whatever it is, collective chanting the holy names. Sankirtan, kirtan is alone, loud chanting, verbal chanting, kirtan. But Sankirtan is with others, congregational chanting of the holy name, in or out, wherever we are, doesn't matter. So this is the Yuga Dharma, congregational chanting of the holy name of Krishna. So we take shelter of that, as Sangha. Don't think we're alone. Don't think we're alone. Notebook, please. Pen. There's a pen in my bag. We're not alone. We may not be aware because of our cloudy consciousness, but when we're performing the Sankirtan, chanting of the holy name, it's countless personalities. We can't imagine. Even Prabhupada said one time, on Sankirtan, Naruni appears there. And we sometimes laugh to see how the human beings or whatever in Kali Yuga, how they are chanting the holy name of Krishna. It's miraculous, there's nothing there. Just give me 1 second. Okay. Use pens much these days. It's kind of, pens are out nowadays. And they've got in the office. Hare Krishna. Works. Yes. Now the holy name is eternal. We're eternal. And we just have to connect with that which is eternal. And that's intelligence. Just therefore, Krishna Varna, Krishna Varna, how's it go? Krishna Varna. Oh my God. I'd never forgotten that verse. Must be getting old. Anyway, those who are actually intelligent, the Srimad Bhagavatam said. Someone's saying something, I can't hear it.
Oh, it's Krishna Varna Tusha Krishnam Sangapanga Sriparshadam.
Yagya Sankirtanam Praya Yajantihi Sumedisha. Thank you. Janananda, wherever that was. Yes. So this is intelligent persons in this age of Kali. They take shelter of the Lord in the form of Sankirtan. He's accompanied by his associates by loudly chanting the holy name of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And Sankirtan means complete. So we have to take, everyone's a part and parcel of Krishna. Now Krishna is complete in himself. He's simultaneously one and different, you could say. But it appears that many of his parts and parcels are separated by consciousness from him. So not only is it just to bring living entities back, connecting them to Krishna, but it also is the most ecstatic. It's the nature of the soul. The Sankirtan movement is eternal. And it's the nature of the soul in eternity. Caitanya Charitamrita is basically a manifestation, verbal, or literary manifestation. What is Sankirtan? It's to be absorbed in the spirit, in this mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of just totally being absorbed in Krishna. And naturally, one wants to spread the glories of Krishna. Now, as you probably know, I have another Zoom class. What time is it?
9:45.
9:30. We have to tune into that one. At 9:25. We have to finish this one at 9:25 France time. So that's what 9:45.
40 minutes.
9:45 right now. So it's 40 minutes. Huh? Yeah, so we still have some good time. So yeah. I want to sing one song, and this is a beautiful song of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And for this, I need to screen share. So with your permission, can we do it? Perhaps I've got to open it first, I think. Haven't I? Probably have to open it first. There we go. So we like to screen share. This one?
Yeah.
Do I have to put share first? Or
No.
just press it?
Yeah, they are seeing it.
Is it there? Can you see the picture? I'll
Yes.
put it on slide.
Yes. Yes, Maharaj.
Well, hopefully now you can see even better. Can they see these little boxes or
No, they
not?
don't.
They can. So I just reduce these little boxes here. There we go. So you can see on this screen here we have Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Now here's a wonderful example. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, because pretty much everybody in Kali Yuga is wrapped in material activities, material endeavors, family life, economic development, and so on. Here's a devotee who was the Grihasta, and he had 12 children. And he was a chief magistrate in a court in Puri, Jagannath Puri. And at one time, he was also the manager of the Jagannath Puri temple. And at the same time, what an amazing contribution spiritually to the world. He's writing a phenomenal number of literatures and also chanting the Hare Krishna mantra and preaching. He established 550 namahatas during his life. And he would visit most of them regularly. So, of course, this is not possible for an ordinary human being. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, like the holy name, has descended along from the spiritual world in order to, you could say, spread the holy name. It takes one of the Lord's empowered representatives to actually achieve this. No one else can do that. We can only assist them. If we follow their instructions, then an effectivity may take place. It doesn't mean we shouldn't use our karmic intelligence or karmic facilities. We can do that too, but it should always be in line, not something speculative, in line with this. Like Prabhupada said, we should rack our brains how to spread this Krishna consciousness movement. He said this is the best way to control our crazy minds, is to think how we can spread Krishna consciousness, how we can connect Krishna's parts and parcels to make the Sankirtan more full, so that everyone's connected somehow or another. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, of course, he had his part to play, may not have manifested every aspect, but he manifested everything. All the seeds were sown for the spreading of this Krishna consciousness in the form of Srila Janananda Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And now we see, I read it, I saw on our Sankirtan forum here the other day, one of our devotees put a very nice little anecdote on there, and it said that although people, they may not wish to hear, I can't say it word for word, they may not wish to hear, they may not be willing to hear what we're trying to say, and that you'll often find, even amongst ourselves, or to speak of the public in general. They may not want to hear what we're saying, but they said, we shouldn't be discouraged. Simply don't underestimate the power of planting seeds in people's hearts. Don't underestimate it. It's very powerful. The seed, Bhaktilata Bij, is very powerful. We may not see it immediately. It gave there was a little illustration of a big rock. And somehow or another, this tree had cracked through the rock and was growing out. Although you can hardly imagine, how on earth can that be possible? So our hearts may like be rock hard. They may be very hard to imagine how this is ever going to happen. But the seed is there. We just have to, somehow or another, that seed got water from somewhere and nourishment from somewhere, and gradually the rock. Prabhupada say little drops of water wear away the stone. Little drops. There's a nice story, you probably heard it before, of a guru one time. He had two disciples. He told them to take a seed. He gave them two different seeds. said, go back home, plant these seeds in the ground. So they did, and they said, come back after 6 months. So they both came back after 6 months, and he asked them what happened. And they both said nothing really happened at all. We planted the seed, but there's no sign of anything growing yet. So that's no problem. Come back again after 6 months. So they went off again, and they came back, and one of them said, oh, something is growing. And he asked the other one, nothing is growing. Come back again after a year. After 1 year, one of them said, yes, now it's growing quite nicely. As a whole bush has grown. And the other one said, nothing is growing. And then after another year, he said, come back after 2 years. After 2 years, it's practically into a tree now. And the other one said, nothing is growing. And then come back again after a few more years. Now I've got a tree, nice tree, 10 foot tall. It's a very nice tree. The other one said, nothing. And then they came. Said, never mind, come back again after a few more years. And they came back, and the first one said that, well, yeah, it's still there. Has it grown? No, it's still the same, but it's there. And the other one said, oh, now something is growing. Come back again after a few years. And they came back, and the first one was still the same. The second one was growing bigger and bigger, bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, bigger and bigger. At first, it looked like nothing was growing. But what was happening with the second one of the two disciples was the roots were taking hold in the ground. They were becoming very deep and very strong. The first one's roots were very shallow, so were very weak. It couldn't grow very much. So with strong roots, we can grow very strongly. It may not immediately manifest. The process of devotion and service requires a lot of work underground, you could say, in our consciousness. It may not manifest in ecstatic symptoms, but it is preparing, proper preparation. Anyone who's a cook knows that, you have to prepare nicely before you cook. It's not just about going in, throwing things around and cooking it up by throwing 50 kilos of ghee into the pot or something and saying, what a nice sabji you cooked. That is not a nice sabji. You've got to prepare it properly, even in ordinary education. You can maybe get a job straight away, but if you go to university, get a degree and this and that, there's a good chance you're going to get a better job. You may have to wait 5 years before you get any money, but then you get really good money. Now, we're not encouraging you to necessarily do that, but it's just an example. So like that in devotional service, we have to follow the process, and it may take some time before the fruits. But the beautiful thing about the Sankirtan movement is even the process itself is so joyful, especially Sankirtan, Prasadam, and even the philosophy is so sweet to hear. Even though we're not on that platform of realization, we're not on that platform of purity. And especially Sankirtan, Jiva Goswami points out that of all the processes of Krishna conscious paths, the Sankirtan is very special. He said that even an unqualified, a person who's still attached to this material world, can experience ecstatic symptoms in chanting the holy name. Now, they're not pure in one sense, but they're kind of like blissful feelings which we don't get normally. It's the special feature of the Sankirtan movement, which is just mercy. Because people in this age, Kali, are not very austere, not very intelligent. So they won't carry on unless they're getting some taste. So Krishna very quickly gives some taste, even though it is not necessarily a result of connection, loving connection, you could say, or spontaneous connection with Krishna. It's just fortune. Prabhupada said, I have given you this good fortune, this opportunity to associate with Krishna in this way. So I'd like to sing this song now, if that's okay with everyone. And if it's not much I can do about it. Here we go. It's about the holy name. And let me see what our time is. Okay, I'm going to read the translation. We need 10 minutes, so 10 to 15 minutes to sing this. We've got 30 minutes left. So if I speak for 15 minutes and we sing for 15, it's nice to know what the song's about before we start. Sometimes we sing something, we never find out what it's about, actually. We never hear the meaning. So here's the meaning of this song. Now, this is a very old, it's not so much a translation, it's a poetic endeavor to explain what this song means. It's not 100% to correct, if you want to talk about it literally speaking, but it gets the spirit. It's written mostly in a poetic format by maybe Satyananda or Janananda Maharaj, or both of them, who put together the first ISKCON songbook back in perhaps 1972 or something. I don't know if it was early 70s, maybe even earlier. When, oh when will that day be mine? It's a hankering. See, this song is one of those songs in devotional service. Lodium is a hankering for pure devotional service. This is the price. Rupa Goswami said the price of Krishna consciousness is our hankering or our desire or our intense desire to attain it. It doesn't just come only by mechanical processing. It depends on our intense desire, and ultimately depends on the mercy of Krishna. But when we actually really are serious, when we're really sincere, then that's when things start moving. Maybe a bit shaky. Sometimes things get shaky when you're in that stage at first, because your false, houses or whatever, false attachments in this will get shaken up a little bit. But that may be for a short period of time. But then this hankering is there. When will that day be mine? People hanker in the material world. When will I get this also? What is he asking for? When my offenses ceasing, taste for the name increasing. And Yash Prabhu has just entered into our forum. Welcome, Yash Prabhu. Some of the devotees know you're online, not many, but some know. Take a seat, rest your feet. You're in for a treat. When in my heart, Bhakti says, when my offenses cease, even Haridas Thakur said, prayer of Haridas Thakur, my dear Lord, he's praying to Mahaprabhu. Oh Mahaprabhu, I pray to you, please have mercy on me, that my chanting may be freed of offenses and I may chant in the proper way, Namras, with a taste, correct taste for chanting. But as long as we're offensive, we will never get that real taste. We may get sometimes, but not the real. Real one is perpetual. It never goes away. Varnamase mature. It's eternal. Once that taste, the real platform there, that's it. But the moment is flickering, because there's still some interference on the screen of our consciousness. But when our attitude is like this, prayerful, approaching Krishna, I'm not just thinking by mechanical chanting alone, I would do it. We're not the doer. We're appealing for Krishna's mercy. When in my heart will your mercy shine? That's something you have to realize. When, oh when will that day be mine? Lower than a blade of grass. Now this is from Sikshastakam. Lower than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree. Lower than a blade of grass. Grass sometimes pops up again when you step on it. Trees just tolerate. More tolerant means a devotee is showering his compassionate feelings on those who are maybe trying to cause harm or whatever it is. When will my mind attain this quality? Respectful to all, not expecting their honor. That's not an easy one. Maybe a little respectful to others, but not expecting any honor whatsoever. Amanina manadina. Then shall I taste the nectars, named nectar sublime. Sometimes we think by material external arrangements, we can make it happen. It doesn't work like that. It's when the attitude, when our heart is softened, whatever it takes. When our heart is softened, when we're completely dependent, like a baby crying for its mother, no other shelter, nothing else will satisfy that baby. When, oh when will that day be mine? When will that day come? Great wealth of followers, Nadanam, Janananda, and their feminine beauty. I won't care for them or the comforts of my body. doesn't want anything else. This is completely insignificant. Bhakti Od Hokshige, they're completely nothing to do with the soul. All these different things in this world, nothing to do with the soul in reality. We're just illusory attached to them, identified, but they're nothing really. The soul is spiritual, eternal. We get so hung up with all these different objectives in this world, get upset when anyone gets in the way, entangled, excited. This is a symptom of a madman, foolish madman. And we're all in that bracket. So if we still have this desire for recognition, this desire for achievement in this world, of course, if it can be channeled to Krishna, that's good. Beyond that, there's no value. It's just knotting us up in this material, superfluous to the soul. Birth after birth, give me, O Lord Caitanya, causeless devotion. Causeless means no condition, no material cause, no conditioning, no expectation. It's causeless. It's constitutional. You can't say there's a cause to the eternity of all. It just is. It's the nature of the soul, pure devotional service. It has no other cause. Karma, nothing. Causeless devotion to your feet divine. When, oh, when will that day be mine? When will I utter Krishna, 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 with words choked up and shivering body? Then we're coming to the next. Ainanda Tanukinkuram. Ecstatic symptoms. When will I tremble all over and lose bodily color, tears pouring from my eyes? When, oh, when will that day be mine? We don't try to imitate that. When inevitably it comes spontaneously, when the heart becomes softened, when the mood of loving attachment depends on Krishna starts to manifest. When inevitably weep along the Ganges bank, shouting, Gaur Nityananda, as a surrendered soul, not for any other reason, spontaneously chanting the names of the Lord. At least spontaneity, development of loving affection towards the Lord, dancing, chanting, running everywhere. When will I become half mad of mind? Mad for Krishna. People may also see it as being mad, because Prabhupada would say, who is crazy? They're seeing, why are you wasting your time doing this nonsense? They say that intelligence means to, work in an office, pressing buttons all day long, with things on your ears and going crazy. Mobile phones all around you, and drinking coffee every now and again to keep awake, smoking a cigarette to calm your nerves, watching the television, or whatever you watch, sitting in a cafe, drinking wine, eating frog's legs. They think this is intelligent. Studying stuff, whatever it is, stuff it in. This is intelligent. Making rubber rings called car tires, intelligent. How to make better car, Yash is in the Michelin factory making car tires. Very intelligent, all day long, making different systems to cheat people, make more money. That's the idea of intelligence. Unfortunately, it doesn't get very far in terms of long-term, very short-term sight. So, anyway, what to do? So they think we're mad. I guess the villagers think they're mad. When will Lord Nityananda show mercy to me? When will I reject the world of Maya? Okay, that's a big one. When? It doesn't mean we reject it like the impersonalists. It means we reject this idea that this is mine, that this is for my enjoyment. We reject the idea of seeing it separately from Krishna. Maya means that which is not, which means we're seeing energy separate from Krishna. We're seeing ourselves separate from Krishna. We're seeing ourselves as the enjoyer, not Krishna as the enjoyer. We're seeing ourselves as a doer. We're seeing ourselves as a center, etc. This is Maya. Bestow unto me the shade of your lotus feet. Let the right to preach the name be mine. And there's an interesting, because it may not absolutely be literally correct, but the principle is the same. Let the right to preach the name be mine. He's hankering to be an instrument. The right is like, in a sense, Lord Chaitanya has given everyone this order. Yaradeki Tarakara Krishna Videsha Mara Guru Tarahane Desh. To teach others about Krishna consciousness. This is his empowerment. Prabhupada has given us his empowerment, even though in other words, we're just like peons passing it on. We're not necessarily like, like an acharya who's literally establishing a means of spreading Krishna consciousness in a particular situation. We're taking shelter of the acharya like peons and spreading it accordingly in whatever way we can. That mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that mission, mercy mission, spreading Krishna consciousness. Marathon, which is coming up, is a great opportunity for you all to dive into this ocean of nectar and see how we can help spread Krishna consciousness by pleasing Prabhupada by distributing his books or whatever it is online, something or another. I'll give you a little amazing thing happened about 5 days ago. One of our devotees here in France was on Sankirtan in Paris, back to Jad. And he met this man who was, I don't know, what was his name? I can't remember. Something to do with a program, I don't know what the heck it is. It's called TikTok, whatever that is. I thought that was a clock, but anyway, it's some kind of program, TikTok. And apparently it's very popular. So this man met our devotee on Sankirtan, thought that this is an interesting thing that you were doing, and he interviewed him. And the devotee spoke so well about Bhagavad Gita, and they were laughing to each other. He said some things in French, you can probably see it online, and constantly since 5 days ago, he's averaging 20 online Bhagavad Gitas a day. People paying, ordering the Gita online. 20 a day since then. So this is a novel, not say novel, you can say novel, yeah, social media, a way of distributing Prabhupada's books. You don't have to even, of course, he had that contact, so that's through that contact. But the principle is there. There are many ways to spread the name, to be empowered. If our heart is there, if we're connected to the pure Acharya, one can become empowered to be an instrument for their mission. So that right is there. You've all got the right to preach the name. We may not be able to preach the name exactly, but probably say, what will your 3 minutes preaching do? If you give them the book, you have something solid. They will take with them. It will go far and near. Very powerful. When, oh when will that day be mine? I will beg, borrow, or steal the nectar of the name. Materially, people do this for mundane things. In other words, we should, whatever it takes to become Krishna conscious. This is the only purpose of human life. No other value. By the name's effect, I will feel paralyzed, stunned. And all material desires will be stunned or removed also. O enjoyer of the nectar of the name, when will I touch your lotus feet to the end of time, taking shelter of those pure devotees of the Lord who are constantly chanting the name for the pleasure of Krishna. Taking shelter of those who are chanting for the pleasure of Krishna, not for their own pleasure, for Krishna's pleasure. Nothing else. Spontaneously glorifying Krishna. When, oh when will that day be mine? When kindness to all beings will be appearing with free heart, forget myself comforting, Bhakti Vinod in all humility praise. Now I will set out to preach your order sublime. When, oh when will that day be? When that's the concluding verse of this psalm. Then I went. This is for a pure devotee, compassion is a spontaneous, unavoidable. If they're in contact with this reflective energy, fear and excuse me, from fear and energy, it can't help but be para dukkha dukhi, full of compassion for the forgetful souls, full of compassion for Krishna and consequently the forgetful souls. Krishna, because his parts and parcels are not bringing him as much pleasure as they should be. So the way he feels sorry that Krishna's pleasure isn't as much as it could, because you can't measure. There's no quantitative measurement, spiritually speaking, but this mood of a devotee, if only we can reconnect, that will bring more pleasure to Krishna. That manifests in this world as compassion to the ignorant, fallen souls. So when the heart is completely pure, one of the characteristics or qualities of a devotee, 4 times mentioned in the 26 qualities, basically is compassion. It's the most inherent quality of the pure soul in contact with this world, is compassion. So we'll sing this song now. Well, I don't to go back like this, I guess. Kabe habe bolo sedina Kabe habe bolo sedina. That's the first verse. That's the chorus, that line. Aparada guchi Fudaname ruchi Kripa bale habe Vidaye sanchar Aparada guchi Fudaname ruchi Kripa bale habe Vidaye sanchar Kabe habe bolo Sedin ama Kabe habe bolo Sedin ama Hina dikka hina Kabe nije mani ni Sahishnuta guna ridoye te ani Hina dikka hina Kabini Jemani Saishnuta Gunare Doye Teani Sakale Manada Apani Amani Niyoe Ashwadibo Namarasa Sa Sakale Manada Apani Amani. Pass me forward. Oye Ashwadibo Namarasa Sa Kabe Habe Bolo Sedina Kabe Habe Bolo Sedina Jana Ara Kobita Sundari Bolivona Chari Deo Sukha Kari Jana Jana Ara Kobita Sundari
Bolivona Chari Deo Sukha Kari
Jame Jame Dayo Ohe Gora Hari Ohe Tiki Bhakti Charane Toma Jame Jame Dayo Ohe Gora Hari Ohe Tiki Bhakti Charane Toma Kavi Ave Ave Bolo Sedina Shri Krishna Namo Charana Pulakita Deho Jagada Vachana Shri Krishna Namo Charana Pulakita Deho Jagada Vachana Bhagavate Tatu Ave Sangatana Nirantaranete Bhavaya Shuddha Bhagavate Tatu
Abhisangatana Yakaranitre Abhyashuta
Ave Polo Sedina Ave Navadvite Sururitate Goranityanando Bode Ishapate Ave Navadvite Sururitate Goranityanando Bode Ishapate Satya Gaya Derai Bojute Pasurera Praya Chariya Pita Satya Gaya Derai Bojute Pasurera Praya Chariya Pita Habe Habe Bolo Devi Amma Habe Habe Bolo Devi Ave Janananda Morikori Doya Sadai Mora Vishaya Maya Ave Janananda Morikori Doya Sadai Mora Vishaya Maya Diya More Nija Charanera Chaya Namaraha Bhakti Deviyandita Yamore Nija
Karanera Chaya Namera Vajite Dive Adika
Radhe Radhe Bolo Devi Amma Radhe Radhe Bolo Devi Amma Kini Bolo Kibo Harinama Rata Namaste Mati Hoi Boli Vasha Kini Bolo Kibo Harinama Rata Namaste Mati Hoi Boli Vasha Tatara Sika Charana Parasha Koriyamo Jivo Tatteyaniva Charana Parasha Habe Polo Devi Habe Bedoya Oye Udaya Nija Sukha Boli Oye Udaya Nija Sukha Boli Nija Udaya Vakati Vinora Korea Pinoya Yagata Hala Kori Dekata Vakati Vinora Korea Pinoya Yagata Hala Kori Dekata. Go back to the first one. Have Have Bolo Teddy Rama Have Have Bolo Teddy Rama Aparada Guti Shudana Miruti Kripapale Have Doi Kanta Aparada Guti Shudana Miruti Kripapale Have Doi Kanta Have Have Bolo Teddy Rama Have Have Bolo Teddy Have Have Bolo Teddy Have Have Bolo Teddy Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama
I keep losing my arm. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Hari Ram Sankirtan ki jai, Srila Prabhupada's Transcendental Book Marathon ki jai. So everybody, don't forget that very soon you have this lifetime opportunity, hopefully every year opportunity, to take part in this great yajna, Sankirtan yajna called the Srila Prabhupada Book Marathon. We used to go to the Christmas marathon. Time of the year when it used to be, I don't know now, it used to be lots of people on the streets, but generally people are in a kind of a festivity mood, at least in many places. And it's a great time for us all to come together to bring unity to the world, peace to the world, unity amongst devotees. We all get together instead of quarreling and criticizing and whatever else we unfortunately get caught up in sometimes. Think how I can also be a part of distributing books. If you have any French-speaking people in your area, by the way, we can send you some French books from France. We have loads of them. Or some contacts, let us know. Or if you want to come over here and help us do book distribution, if you want, you're most welcome. That's back to Joe. His arm suddenly appeared on the screen. We have mystic powers. We're developing mystic powers now. We can make our limbs appear and disappear like this now. We can go invisible. Very incredible. But whatever it is, the real magic is the magic of awakening Krishna consciousness in the hearts of conditioned souls. So please take this opportunity anytime, but especially now. So I'm going to have to now sign out. We're going on. And some of you may wish to join us. I think Sankirtan Prabhu gave some connection there, some link. You're welcome. It's going to be, I think it's going to be translated into Russian. So, but still, you're welcome to join us. It's hopefully another opportunity for us to wake up and start acting as we should be acting for the pleasure of Krishna. So we wish you all a Hare Krishna, Krishna conscious night, day, whatever it is. And until we meet next time, we thank you so much for joining us. And Haribo! 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 If you have any questions, you can send them to me. I don't know if you can send them on chat anymore, but we'll take them up at another time.
Haribo, thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
Haribo, Srila Prabhupada. Haribo.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Haribo, glorious Sankirtan of Lord Caitanya Maharaj. If you want to know how you can help, Haribo.
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 Haribo.